Find out how Seeq transformed Marathon Oil in this exclusive interview at the AWS Energy Symposium. To guide us through these exciting developments, we have Shaista Mallik, Industry Principal for Oil and Gas at Seeq, and to provide insights into the practical application of these solutions, Pietryka, Solutions Consultant at Seeq. Before this digital push where we get the biggest operational challenges Marathon Oil faced, especially with intelligent alerts, and what was it like managing the wells?
We're talking about Marathon Oil here, so it's upstream. And before going into the digital transformation journey, as well as implementing Seeq, we're really looking at a scope of 4,000 wells that needed to be monitored for productivity. So one was the amount of time it takes to develop an actual alert. It took Marathon 21 weeks to develop an alert. So that's everything from scoping the alert as well as developing the requirements, the architecture, the UAT testing, the final testing, and then the readiness of the alert. So all of that took 21 weeks. And that kind of goes into a second problem, which is if it takes this long, how many alerts can you actually develop in a year? And they were only able to develop 4 alerts per year. So that's very low compared to what they needed to accomplish to monitor those 4,000 wells and to be able to then have exception-based surveillance. And since that was the gap that they were facing, that is really where Seeq came in to resolve that solution and, with this use case. And the last part here is this essentially led to not knowing where equipment was failing or having unplanned downtime, which yielded less productivity and then obviously decreased revenue, increased cost. And you know how that cycle goes before implementation.
Can you list some of those key improvements? I mean, you've touched on some of the challenges there, but what are some of the direct outcomes that we've seen from this partnership?
Yeah, so as soon as Seeq was implemented, a few things happened. So directly, we were able to shorten the cycle time of alert development from 21 weeks down to 3 weeks, and even having the potential to decrease it to about 1 week. So now, rather than having 4 alerts developed over the course of a year, you had about 50 alerts develop around the course of a few months, meaning that's about, a 10x increase in the amount of alerts that we develop.
By scaling those intelligent alerts across many assets, we at scale are reducing downtime of those wells. We are reducing lost opportunity on production of those wells and ultimately leading to really powerful outcomes.
Which specific AWS services were implemented, and how did that directly help overcome those challenges?
I think what I like about this use case is it is really an ecosystem example. AWS partnering with technology partners like Seeq and Marathon Corporation to solve this challenge. So when we look at this solution, at the center is the Seeq industrial analytics and AI platform that is built on AWS Elastic Kubernetes Services. And that Kubernetes architecture is critical to be able to scale to 4,000 wells. What's unique about Seeq is we leave the data where it is. So we connect to data in place. For Marathon, that was Pi historians, SQL databases. It could be a data lake, depending on your architecture, but we don't need to redo that data storage. Connect to where it is, connect engineers, operators, technicians to that data, and put tools at their disposal to create these intelligent alerts. And we can create and validate those in hours, deploy them within a week. And ultimately, these intelligent alerts are only as good as getting them into the right hands. And so the last piece of the puzzle is once you've created these in Seeq, we push to Marathon's field service application to get those alerts in front of field personnel, operators, technicians that are actually putting their hands on the operations and making adjustments. So when you look at that end to end, we have data sources, we have Seeq, we're sitting on AWS, and then we're deploying to Marathon's in-house field services application. So end to end, we're looking at 5+ different software applications working seamlessly together to solve this challenge.
Like you said, it's an ecosystem approach to offering a solution, which is very unique. Especially, I feel like oftentimes in the energy industry, we find a lot of siloed operations. And so whenever you're able to, whether that's a solution or like an operation, you're finding that a lot in the energy industry. How did Seeq's advanced analytics combined with AWS enable that shift to more effective exception-based surveillance and boost overall operational efficiency?
Yeah. So when you look at the intelligent alerts, really the goal with them is how do we get critical information about these wells into the hands of the right people at the right time? And so right time is immediate. And ultimately, their goal is we want to decrease downtime of these wells and we want to reduce lost production. And as Shaista alluded to, really the challenge that Marathon had historically was that deployment time took so long. They just weren't matching that subject matter expertise and getting it into the field. When you have a central development group that takes weeks or months in order to match their development with the SMEs in the field, you're just not going to make any progress. What Seeq does really uniquely is we put the power in the hands of the subject matter experts. So again, they can be developing and validating those models in the course of hours, then figuring out what wells they're applicable to and deploying that again within the week. And the idea is you can do this at scale, so we can monitor dozens of anomalies per well times 4,000 wells and get that information into the hands of the folks in the field, and ultimately leading to really powerful outcomes.
What advice would you give to other energy companies that are looking to integrate cloud services and advance analytics for real-time operational improvements?
Yeah, great question. So with that, I want to kind of scale back a bit and go and talk really through how we look at our solutions at Seeq. So when you look at operations, there's really three pillars to it. We have production and throughput, reliability, so asset reliability, quality. And the avenues in which we apply our solution is around predictive maintenance, around continuous improvement. Now that can take the form of reporting or something else, but whether that's workforce productivity or emissions monitoring, we're looking to improve something. And then anomaly detection, which allows us to do condition monitoring. All that to be said, when we look at an application like this, Marathon Oil, where we're looking at well monitoring, one is, again, to work with a very scalable cloud infrastructure, such as AWS, because that not only allowed us to apply our application, but also other AWS applications that Mark talked about and allowed for containerization strategy. The second is when with this use case, it allowed us to scale alerts, one with shortening the cycle time, and then being able to enable a lot more alerts because of that. And one, not only was that efficiency, but it also allowed for all of the effort with the people that were involved with that larger lead time to shorten that. And lastly, this is more on a, again, high level here, but we all talk about AI. So Seeq is an AI-enabled data analytics platform. So not only can that make it efficient to run the application and run the software, but it also makes it much faster time to realize for you to understand where your bad actors are through anomaly detection, condition monitoring, and then eventually root cause analysis and predictive maintenance. And then the last two are more on the cultural side. So one is the continuous improvement mindset that you not only have to have in your personnel and your subject matter experts, but the other is to have a key sponsor and champion in your organization. We've noticed that as the Seeq team works directly with our users, we really benefit from someone that is able to pull together a cross-functional team internally to drive that transformation, because the human element is the biggest here.
Seeq now, I mean, talking about the AI, right, which is in every conversation. It's been a lot of the conversations here at AWS, but I want to talk about Seeq's augmented, your platform has been augmented with generative AI assistance. So I want to talk a little bit about that because that's continuing to enhance productivity and streamline knowledge sharing, which is a big emphasis of yours. So is there anything that you would like to say to a company that's like on the fence about working with your platform?
Yeah, I guess stemming off of your last question and then leading into this one, organizations like Marathon Oil and other energy companies have invested a ton of money in data capture. And they've also invested a lot in their employees, their subject matter experts of whatever domain that is. And what we're trying to close the gap on is enabling those subject matter experts to leverage that data. And so, at the core, Seeq provides tools for you to be a citizen data scientist, a citizen developer, to develop use cases just like the one we talked about here with Marathon Oil. And then when we talk about AI, as you mentioned, we're augmenting our workflows with that. And so there's not a single facet of our platform that is not augmented with AI. And initially, we see the benefit there is really to get people up the learning curve more quickly. So to learn about the platform, to learn about data analytics, which is what we focus on, and to start even creating content through the use of natural language prompting. So you don't have to go point and click. We don't have to write code anymore. We can use natural language and start to get results out. And beyond that, where we're looking going forward is not just having generative AI to be a workforce assistant or a co-pilot. We really want AI to be at the center of how we do data analytics. So exposing the underlying process and operational data to uh, to our AI assistant, exposing other unstructured documentation that maybe hasn't historically fit in the operational data space, like process and instrumentation diagrams, technology manuals, standard operating procedures, all of that information that folks in the field are looking at and are critical to solving these tough operational challenges, getting that into the hands of AI. And then again, putting your subject matter experts at the center, letting them design these workflows with the assistance of AI, pulling together these data sources when required, and really helping them multiply their workforce effectiveness as well. So we're investing heavily in it. We see a lot of our customers investing heavily in AI, and we're certainly seeing the results from that so far.